legendary author of Good to Great, Made to Last, and a handful of other classic business books, has a weird daily habit to which he attributes most of his success. Every single day, almost without fail, he keeps a meticulous record of the day's events, including the number of hours he slept, the foods he ate, time he spent exercising, his subjective happiness, focus, mood, and a dozen other factors. His reason for doing so, however, is as profound as it is simple. By measuring his life and keeping track of the various inputs and anomalies, he's better able to track and attribute how certain factors influence his well-being and performance. For example, he noticed direct correlations between the number of hours he slept and the foods he ate and how he rated himself on happiness and disposition. And while this habit might sound bizarre to some, it's arguably one of the most powerful things to which you can commit. Most of us live busy, chaotic, and often haphazard lives. We're constantly bombarded by a barrage of stimulation and external inputs that warp our moods, sour our dispositions, and negatively impact our ability to create the realities we want. And yet, the average man is completely unaware of how these factors may be influencing his life. For example, in my own life, I found a handful of simple factors disproportionately affect my mood and quality of life. Something as simple as a serving of dairy can make me angry, frustrated, and easily triggered by events I would otherwise brush off without a second thought. Sleeping fewer than 7 hours a night decreases my productivity by conservatively 30 to 40%. Eating a carb-heavy breakfast makes me sluggish and unproductive, causing me to waste the best hours of my morning and battle an unconquerable brain fog for the rest of the day. And spending more than 20 minutes a day on social media directly impacts my self-image and often results in feelings of inadequacy and insufficiency. And the list goes on. The challenge for most men, however, is that they're completely unaware of the factors that contribute to their various challenges, both in their lives and their relationships. Now, to give you a more pertinent example, I began applying this same type of quasi-objective tracking to my marriage and sex life, and I noticed a few striking correlations I didn't expect. Carving out just 30 to 60 minutes every morning to spend quality time with my wife directly improved her mood, productivity, and general disposition throughout the day. She was less likely to get triggered by things that I said, more agreeable when I asked for help or time alone, and generally, our days together improved dramatically. The frequency with which I watched porn had a direct effect on my sex life and marriage. The more porn I watched, the less engaged I was later in the day, the less real sex we had, and the more disconnected we both felt. And when my wife was in a bad mood, I found that every time I attempted to logify her problems away and explain solutions, the worse the day and her moods became. However, by simply giving her a big hug and reaffirming my love, she would arrive at the right conclusion herself and feel more empowered and positive throughout the rest of the day. And in your own life and relationships, daily quantification is a secret weapon. Rather than being a victim of circumstance, you begin to clue yourself into the why behind the problems you're facing personally or romantically. It might sound hyperbolic, but I believe that we live in a world where we're engaged each day in a type of neurological warfare. Now, whether this war is being waged intentionally by the powers that be, or simply as a result of the system that we find ourselves in, is irrelevant. But the fact remains that each day, we're forced to contend with more and more factors that influence our mood, emotions, and abilities than most of us care to admit. Something as simple as the type of soap you use to wash your body can set off a chemical chain reaction that dampens your mood and zaps your energy, and potentially leads to the proliferation of cancerous cells in your body. The foods you eat, the unfiltered water you drink, the drugs you take, the amount you sleep, all of these things have a direct impact, not just on your life as a whole, but on your ability to make decisions, take action toward your vision, and show up as the man you want to become. And the only way to win this war is through strategic intelligence. Know thy enemy, as they say. Because when you become aware of how different factors in your life are influencing your mood and behaviors, you reclaim control of your life one small step at a time. You know what foods to eat and what foods to avoid to feel your best and perform at optimal levels. You know how things like porn, social media, and drugs, whether it's caffeine, cannabis, or amphetamines, impact you. And to give you another quick anecdote, shortly after falling in love with the show American Horror Story, I noticed a dramatic drop in my sleep quality and an increase in depressive symptoms. And after avoiding the show, in a matter of days, the symptoms abated. My sleep returned to normal, and I felt like myself again. Quantification and attribution give you the power necessary to rig your environment and lifestyle to make achieving the outcome you want almost effortless. But actually doing the work of quantification is in and of itself a tall order. In our busy lives, it can be hard to remember to jot down what you're doing throughout the day and remember what you did at the end of the day. So keeping with the theme of the 20-mile march we discussed in the gamified evolution training, my recommendation is to start small. Pick a few simple factors and track them consistently. Specifically, I recommend that when you're first beginning to implement this, you only track the number of hours you slept, any big divergences from your normal day, for example, drinking more coffee than normal, eating something that you normally wouldn't, or having a difficult conversation with a family member, and your subjective well-being on a scale of -2 to 2, -2 being horrible, 2 being perfect. And the reason for this is that it prevents you from falling into the trap of neutrality by rating each day as a 7 or an 8. And as you continue to build, your daily tracker will look something like this. Personally, I keep a list of daily notes, detailing what time I woke up, what sort of activity I got up to, what substances I consumed, what I did for work, when I finished my day, and anything else I find important. I keep a record of daily lessons, anything I'm learning from the books I'm reading, the podcasts I'm listening to, or the people that I'm spending time with. I tally how much time I spent in creative work and deep work, what I did during my morning, my subjective well-being, what I ate for food, how much I exercised, how much I slept, how much water I drank, and how I handled my finances. Now remember, daily tracking is a habit, and no different than exercise or meditation, it's a habit that must be built over time. So start small and work your way up to something like this. And as this habit becomes more deeply ingrained in your brain and way of being, it'll be easier to track other factors and get a clearer picture of the exact attributions to your mood and performance. But I promise you, if you'll take this seriously and begin to track and quantify your life, you'll notice patterns, similarities, and attributions that you never would have recognized otherwise. This really is your secret weapon. Put it to use each day, and I promise your life will look radically different 12 months from now.